Hi everyone, it's Susie de Jong and I'd like to welcome you today to Masterpiece in Progress. And this is a show where I love to interview wise women who can share their knowledge about issues that are really important to real women just like us. And today I'd like to welcome back a long-term dear friend of mine, Mona Hecke, who has generously met with me to talk about all things natural, but specifically today I wanted to get her knowledge, her wealth of information on navigating the minefield that is menopause. And you may have seen Mona, last year we had a little bit of a chat about all things natural. I think we're talking more about moods and things like that, but this time I want to speak specifically to menopause. Mona is a naturopath. She is the queen of all things natural. She is the face behind Aussie Health Girl. She's launched her own natural health product line. She's also written a best-selling book, Lunchbox Revolution, which I highly recommend you get. And she's also dabbled in politics lately. So she wears hats. And what I love about Mona is that she walks her talk, and that's pretty rare these days. So thank you so much for joining me again, Mona.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Cool. Now, I'm a bit, this is a bit selfish too, because I am going through menopause. I have no idea where I am on the scale of whether I'm halfway through it or towards the end of it. So this was a bit selfish of me because I wanted to find out a little bit more information as well. So when I researched this topic, I was dismayed to find out that there are a list of 34 symptoms that come along with the joy of menopause. And some of them are more commonly known, as we know, hot flushes, disturbed sleep, hair loss, things like that, loss of libido. But I was really shocked to see some of the others here that I wasn't aware of, such as aching joints and muscles, digestive problems, anxiety and depression, difficulty concentrating, change in body odour, and crawling skin sensation. And it just went on and on. So are they really that common, those other ones that I just mentioned?
Yeah, menopause is such an interesting topic. Like myself too, I'm in that age bracket and going through it and have been going through it. So, it's definitely something I understand. And the symptoms can be so varied. I think what women need to understand is that we're all so individual. So it's going to affect everyone slightly differently. Sure, we're going to have commonalities, which is usually going to be things like your hot flushes, restless sleep, and we'll talk more of those. But the weird and strange and wonderful things, it all depends too on your own body's immune system and genetic predisposition, lifestyle. All those things play a role on, your body weight, your exercise regime, your diet. All these things come into play for everybody. And so, with the change in hormones, and hormones, you've got to understand, are basically pathways, messenger pathways that are telling our body what it should and shouldn't do. And when those hormones become out of balance, then of course those pathways are going to, tell our body different signs and symptoms are going to start manifesting. So it's a really interesting thing. But I also think what I really want women to understand is that not to fear it and not to treat it like it's a disease. There was one stage, I think it was last year, the health department wanted to classify menopause as a disease. Now, as soon as which just horrified me. And, I could go off on a rant, which I do sometimes. But and the reason they want to do that, because as soon as the health department quantifies something as a disease, they can then allocate it medication and prescriptions, and it becomes this whole drug scene that is not what menopause should be. In other countries, menopause is revered as this wonderful transition where, we finally have a bit more freedom, that we're freed up from, the responsibilities of our kids all the time, that they're sort of finding their own path, that we then have this ability to go and truly do what we want to do at this point in our lives. So I would you know, we need to embrace it, and we need to be grateful that we've reached this age too, you know, with our lifestyle and, you know, age these days. Be grateful that you're healthy and you've made it this far. And, you know, be that wise old sage that we're meant to be at this age. We've you know, gathered so much knowledge and wisdom and things that we can pass on. And I think we need to embrace it a lot more than we need to fear it.
Yes, and I guess too, you know, and I've been guilty of this. We learn, you know, as young women all about, you know, going into puberty and getting our period and having childbirth. But I've never really educated on going into menopause, apart from, you know, the old infamous hot flushes and things like that. I think you're right. We need to really expand our knowledge on it and not fear it. And that's a really great point.
Yeah.
So I know there are 3 stages of menopause, being perimenopause, midst of menopause, and post-menopause. What are the usual types of symptoms that you might notice in peri or pre-menopause?
Yeah, look, normally that's when you'll start to notice changes in your menstrual cycle for most women. Perimenopause, that's probably the first sign that your menstrual cycle might change. It might lengthen, it might shorten, it might lighten, that sort of thing. Along with that, normally, well, some women will normally see weight gain. That, you know, we have this wonderful metabolic process that when we're younger, you can eat and do whatever you like and you'll stay the same weight. And unfortunately, you know, you'll notice in perimenopause that that's not the case. And so you might think, well, I'm doing the same thing. I'm not eating anything different, but the weight's staying on, you know, so that might be a thing. So there's, yeah, obviously a lot of temperature changes that may start to occur as well, libido, mood swings, all those things. And for some women, like, there may not be any difference between perimenopause, menopause and post. Like, they might just go whack straight into it and it'll all be mixed up and all be the same. You know, for some women, they'll see some symptoms. Some women won't notice anything and just cruise through. Again, it's so individual for every woman as to what they're experiencing. And that's where, you know, blood tests and hair tests can really sort of define it. But even then, you know, as soon as you define it, you know, I think most women instinctively will go, what the hell's going on? There's something not right here. And recognising it, but having a blood test will just confirm it. And then, of course, it's about, well, which path do I choose and where do I go from here?
Yes, you know, it's a common joke in my household that I'll go, is it hot or is it just me? And the cries are just you.
Yeah, except in this humid, horrible weather that we're having, like, oh, it makes it so much worse, doesn't it?
So you've answered a couple of questions already for me, but, you know, as you said, some women sail through it. They don't even know that they've gone through it. Others suffer, some in the middle. But why is that, do you think? Why is that genetic, or is it lifestyle, or it's just one of those things?
Yeah, it's going to be a combination of things. Genetics is interesting because, you know, genetics really only play a small part in things like that. And I think if we're lucky enough to know our genetic profile or where we've come from, that we all have a genetic wildcard. So it's about being able to identify where our weaknesses are. And sure, if your mum's gone through it, your grandmother and that sort of thing, you think, well, okay, that genetic tendency is going to be there. But being prepared for it then and going, okay, I recognise it, I identify with it, but what can I do to be proactive about it rather than be reactive about it? As with anything, it's always going to be better to be proactive and find some solutions as opposed to just letting stuff happen to you. You know, we talk about that with so many things emotionally too. You know, don't just let stuff happen to you and react. Be proactive. Okay, what can I do to empower myself and to make, you know, my health the best it can be? Especially when it comes to something like menopause and the transition, because you really, you know, we don't have to suffer. I think that's the other thing. You don't have to, you know, be a victim and suffer and just put up with it. It's not how it should be.
Yeah, and it's about taking responsibility for yourself in any area of your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's just another one. Yeah, definitely.
That's a really good point. So you mentioned the best way to find out if you're actually in menopause would be to have a blood test. Yeah,
absolutely. There's a variety of blood tests. And what you need to do is, you know, have a a full hormone profile. So that's your estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, because they're basically the hormones that will regulate your body temperature, your change in your period, your thyroid. You want to have your thyroid checked. You know, definitely that's something that comes into play a little bit more as well. And that's all about your weight gain. So thyroid is really important, and whether you're still producing thyroid hormones. So that's also a really good indicator. You want to have your cortisol levels checked. Cortisol is the hormone, your stress hormone. So when your stress is high, so if you're under still a high pressure job, or you're, you know, stressing about your grown kids, or whatever it is, or relationships, if your cortisol's high, chances are you're going to be retaining weight. So that's a really big one. Okay, so you want to make sure your cortisol's checked. The other one that's really, really important is your vitamin D. So vitamin D is like your sense of well-being hormone. It's a fat-soluble vitamin that we normally get from the sun. You'll get it from, say, oily fish and eggs and stuff. But even if you're walking in the sun every day, you may not be absorbing it as well. But vitamin D really is about sense of well-being. And a lot of women will find that your vitamin D will decline during menopause. So you know, optimally, you want to have your vitamin D as high as you can, sort of sitting at around, your marker would be around 75 to 100. So, you know, I recently had mine checked, and I'm in the sun every day. Like you can tell, I've got a bit of colour, and, you know, I go out walking every morning. So I'm out there a lot, and yet my vitamin D was super low. So, you know, it was a really good indicator to me to go, hey, I need to have a bit of a top up. So, yeah, there's a lot of things. Liver profile is also a really good one. What we need to understand is that your hormones are processed out through your liver. So you want to have your liver functioning really, really well. You don't want to have a really sluggish liver metabolism. Hormones need to be excreted through your liver. So get a liver profile as well. The other thing you want to have are your tumour marker tests. So they're available for women that don't know. So we are at higher risk of, you know, some cancers starting to show at this age group as well. So things like you can obviously get your breast tumour marker. There's a bowel tumour marker, a lung and ovarian tumour marker. So they're the 4 tumour marker tests that you can have done. Look, a lot of doctors don't offer these, which I just find frustrating. And, you know, we should be having these. These should be part of a preventive health program. As we know, preventive health doesn't exist in Queensland. It's something I go on about all the time, does my head in, makes me angry. But it should be available to every woman every year, because it's like a car. If you can tweak it, if you can notice that something's wrong, have a test and go, oh yeah, okay, that's out of balance. And you also have a record of what's happened and what's gone before. So you'll notice as soon as something's out of balance and be able to target treatment for it. So preventative health tests are really, really great indicators about what's changing and what's going on. And then it's really simple to just, you know, tweak it and go, okay, yeah, I need a top up in vitamin D, or I need to, you know, take some herbs to balance my estrogen, progesterone, or I need to eat more greens. I haven't got enough antioxidants. You know, I need to plump up my skin. I need vitamin C. You know, there's all these wonderful indicators of what we can do to help us feel a heap better. So blood tests are a really nice way of doing that.
That's really interesting. That actually was going to ask you about that further. What other things we're more at risk of while we're going through menopause?
Yeah.
And, you know.
Yeah. Definitely. You know, your bone mineral density is a big one, obviously osteoporosis. And that's because our minerals are depleting out of our body and we're using them up. Stress is a massive one. If I can tell women anything, you know, don't stress. Oh my God, you know, it's easy to go, oh, just relax and breathe. But, you know, it's not that simple, especially when you're in the middle of it. And, you know, there are times where your stress hormones are going to be high and you require those fight or flight hormones, you know, in your body, but you also need to be able to let them go, and you also need to be able to process through it and go, okay, and come out the other end and then be calm and reset and recalibrate and move forward. You can't just be stuck in that high stress situation all the time, because that's where that high cortisol, you know, when you imagine these stress hormones really high in your body and then you're eating, your body literally can only do one thing at a time. So if your stress is high, your cortisol is high, and you're eating, and what are you going to go for? Comfort food. It's normally chocolate, it might be a glass of wine, some pasta, things that are going to give you short-term gratification. The problem is if your stress hormones are high, your body can't process those foods. So what's it going to do with them? It's going to stick them on and, yeah, it's going to retain them. So because your body's priority is to deal with these hormones in your body and get them out and process them out, because your body knows instinctively that I need to get this stuff out of there. I can't hang on to this because it's not going to be good for my nervous system. It's not going to be good for my immune system. So it's trying to get it out. So you shoving food and chocolate and alcohol in this end, your body's just going to go, well, hang on, I can't deal with that. I've got to deal with this first. So we'll just store that for later. We'll just stick that on your hips or stick it on your guts or stick it on your arms, wherever it is you tend to put weight on. Your body's just going to, oh, hang on for that for later. You know, I might need that as an emergency supply when you're starving down the track because you think, oh, I'm not going to eat today because I need to lose a few kilos. So your body's then going to pull those fat stores out, and it's going to use those as your energy supply. So it's a bit of a vicious cycle, but your body's really clever.
I had no idea about that vicious cortisol cycle.
Yes, cortisol's a nasty. Well, it's a good one. We need it, but you need to let it go, and you need to realize in that moment that if you are stressed, whatever you eat is literally going to go on your hips because your body's just going, well, I can't digest food right now. I can't process that. So we're just going to let that one go and we'll just store it for later. So yeah, it is a bit of a vicious one.
So if you can, and you're in that situation, it's best to just take yourself off for a walk or go and do some yoga or whatever it is.
Yeah, actually they've discovered the best form of exercise, if you're under a high stress like that and you've got high cortisol and you're really freaking out, the best thing you can do is either some push-ups or star jumps.
Oh God, I'll be jumping.
Yeah, so literally some star jumps or some push-ups, something actually intensely physical for a short period of time. And it helps reset the cortisol. It helps pump it out of your system. So that's the best thing you could do. You know, if you're going crazy, just go do some star jumps somewhere. And
all around the world doing star jumps after this.
Yeah, trampolining. If you have a trampoline or a mini trampoline, that's a really good one as well. Just go bounce. It makes you feel good having your trampoline and not have a smile on your face.
I think that's. Thank you for that tip. I'm going to be doing star jumps. So I know it's a bit like comparing apples and oranges, but how long does it take roughly to go through menopause from start to finish?
Yeah, look, as we said before, some women will just coast through it and not really know their periods will stop and they'll be out the other end and go, well, I don't know what you're all talking about. And then other women, it can be 10 years. I've met women who are 70 or 80 and still have symptoms of menopause. But, you know, again, it depends on, are they on medication? That will have an impact. Have they addressed it initially? A lot of people don't. You know, they come from the old school where they just went on to meds for it, which is unfortunate. I suppose on average, you'd probably say 2 to 5 years. It could be about the time frame, but then, you know, that gets extended again. There's so many factors that will come into play about how long that will last and about how proactive you are in doing something about it. Are you having a blood test? Are you addressing your deficiencies or excesses? Are you eating right? Are you exercising? You know, all those things.
Cool. I've just lost my place. Okay. So I can remember this telling me some years ago, I think it was at a party at your house, and I must have still been in my 40s then. And you said, now girls, when you start losing your libido when you're going through menopause, come and see me because I can tell you lots of things, natural things that will help. And please do share. I'm sure there's a lot of women out there that are sitting on the edges of their seats and their partners will be really happy too.
Yeah, absolutely. Libido is a big one because it just affects, you know, such a big part of your life, especially if you're with a partner or looking for a partner, I suppose. You know, your drop in estrogen is going to have a really big effect on how you feel and your mood. So mood is a really big one. Again, it's those hormones talking to, you know, different parts of your body. So there are some products that you can get. Obviously, it all begins with, you know, the environment you're in, your partner being understanding, foreplay, which is really important. You need to address things like vaginal dryness if you drop in estrogen. So, you know, getting a natural kind of lubricant as well. Please don't go for all those, you know, chemical ones. you don't want to be putting something chemical and unnatural in your reproductive area. So that's not a good thing. Stick to something like coconut oil. Coconut oil is brilliant, ladies. Yeah, that's my favourite. That's my favourite. Coconut magic. Coconut oil, it is magic. So the rule of thumb for coconut magic is one in the kitchen, one in the bathroom, one in the bedroom. Put it on your bedside table. It's bloody brilliant. Okay, there's tip number one. The other one is there's a really great product by a company that I love called Fusion. It's in most health food stores. It's in, I think it's in some pharmacies as well. And Fusion do a product called Libido. And it is brilliant. So it has some beautiful Chinese herbs in there that help balance your endocrine system and your hormone system. And they just help your body relax and allow blood flow to go to where it's needed. And it works. It's brilliant. I've been recommending it for years. I get a lot of people that come back and all they do is, because a lot of women are really embarrassed to talk about it. Men are embarrassed to talk about it. It works for both. So, men and women can take these products. And, it's interesting when you start talking to women, they can relax and go, oh, thank God, I'm not the only one. I don't feel abnormal about this, I don't feel under pressure from my partner, but if you give them something and arm them with the tools, and I get lots of people that come back and just give me the thumbs up. Happy wife, happy life kind of thing. So yeah, it works really, really well. And there's another herb called ashwagandha, and ashwagandha also goes under the name of withania. And it's a beautiful herb that helps balance the hormones. It's what we call an adaptogen. So it helps balance the excesses and deficiencies, but it helps with its mood stabilizing. It drops your cortisol. So it's really good for that stress hormone. So the problem is, it's a vicious cycle again when it comes to having sex and libido, is that you feel under pressure. You should be performing. You can't. You don't feel like it. You're in pain. It's sore. I'm dry. I'm not quite getting to where I should be, and you feel that pressure from your partner. So withania is a really good one to help balance all those hormones out. So yeah, if you can go to your health food store, get the Libido from Fusion and also ashwagandha or withania. So it's two names that it comes under, ashwagandha being the traditional name, which I love. I love that name, ashwagandha. It's beautiful. That's a really nice one. So it helps reduce those stress hormones, but it also helps with tyrosine. And tyrosine is a brain sort of nutrient that we need that helps balance mood. So it helps with that whole stress, vicious cycle that we talk about. So yeah, there's a couple of tips: your coconut oil, libido, and ashwagandha. Beautiful.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
It's all right. There'll be a big rush on products.
Rush to the health food store.
Yeah, but they work.
Good. Well, that's great to know, because it's better to get advice from someone who actually knows, seeing something in a magazine and wishing and hoping it's going to work. So
yeah, absolutely. And there's so much information out there about products, but if you can get a product that that's tried and tested and definitely works and works for both parties, then yeah, happy days, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. We had one, I asked in my private group if anyone had some questions for you, and one lady did, and she actually asked about, what's this happening with losing our eyebrows, Mona? The hair on our head, which is just like the bane of my husband's life, because there's just hair everywhere in the house.
Yeah.
I'm scared, when you sort of see it in your hand. But what about eyebrows? Are they ever going to come back?
Yeah, it's all, they will. It's all part of, you need to, we'll just pluck them a bit thinner or shape them a little bit differently. But it is part of that whole hormone cycle. So again, the loss of estrogen is going to affect our hair follicles. And, we do go through natural hair loss cycles. I think some people may not have realised it, but it is just a natural process that you will shed and you will regrow. There is a particular supplement that you can get called biotin, so biotin, again from a health food store, and having just a dose or a course of biotin can actually really help just boost your hair follicle growth and renewed hair growth. So it's a really simple way of doing it. Silica is another one. A lot of people probably know about silica. So really good for hair, skin and nails, because, you know, sometimes your nails can also weaken a little bit and start to flake and chip and split a little bit. So they're all indicators that you are, you know, low on those things. But biotin is by far my favourite, because that is really particular for hair loss. So a fantastic little supplement that's inexpensive that you can buy. I think it's 30 capsules or tablets, but you may need a month, you may need a couple of months. Everyone's going to be different, but you should notice a resurgence in hair growth and hair strength by taking something like that. Yeah, it's a really good one.
That's great. I hope everyone notes, but of course you can
make a list.
share with friends. So, you know, it's all about sharing and helping each other. Why wouldn't you share when you know stuff that can help people?
Exactly.
So a balanced lifestyle, balanced diet, exercise, getting sleep, trying to keep your stress levels at a manageable level, and making sure you have, you know, go and have your blood tests and whatever tests that you mentioned that are available to you. So it's arming yourself with knowledge and do your own research. That's what I was doing. There's so much information out there, but, you know, or go to your path or, you know, someone like that, because doctors are really busy unless you book in for a specific long appointment and say, this is why I'm here. And you've got to stand up and say, this is what, you know, I want to
what you need. Definitely.
Don't go in with your shopping list, but book an extra long appointment and get everything done at once.
Yeah.
And my final question was about HRT. And this is about your personal opinions. I've actually been on it and I've gone off it again. And I just went on it because I actually was suffering with depression and anxiety as well. So what are your personal views and how much do we know about the long-term effects that this can have?
Yeah. Look, they have modified HRT over the years. Personally, I wouldn't go there. As with any medication, it should only be for short-term relief. And in the meantime, go and look for some other alternatives, because nature does give us a lot of the answers that we need to find. And it's not about just addressing one thing. It's usually a whole gamut of things. So when it comes to something like menopause, you know, you might get short-term relief from HRT, but it's definitely not something that I would recommend to stay on long-term at all. We still don't know, well, we do know that it does contribute to a higher risk of cancer. So that's common knowledge. And that's not something I don't think anyone wants to take voluntarily. When it comes to looking at all the changes that you need to make for menopause, like we discussed with sleep is super important, you know, 7 to 8 hours is going to be really important. Yes, what you eat, you know, increasing your green vegetables, increasing fat. I know women are very scared of having fat, but fat is super important in our diet for our neurotransmitter pathways, how we feel, satisfaction, that we've had enough food, elimination.
What sort of fat?
Fats like fish, avocado. Avocado's brilliant. Coconut oil. Go to coconut oil. Have a tablespoon, at least a tablespoon a day. It's really, really good for you. Don't be scared of it. It actually gets used up as energy and your liver will love you for it. Your bowel. We didn't talk about elimination. So it's also important what you eat, but it's super important what comes out and that you have a regular bowel motion. A lot of women in this age, or in any age actually, are quite constipated. So our bowels are permeable and toxins will reabsorb through the body and they're going to make you feel pretty shitty. So, you know, that's where that saying comes from. And you're going to have shitty thoughts. So you have a shitty bowel, you know, feel shitty and have shitty thoughts. So you really need to make sure you up your fat, up your fibre, and your fibre from green leafy vegetables. So your elimination is working. So hormones are going to be excreted out of your body and they're not just going round and round and round. The more they go round, the more they stay in there, the longer they're in your system, the worse you're going to feel. So get that shit out of there, you know, move it out, eat some fat, eat some fibre, keep that moving. your vitamin D levels, sense of well-being. All these little things, you know, can help you prevent having to go on something like HRT. You know, I encourage all women, go and try something natural and holistic. Don't feel like that is your only option. Don't feel pressured to go into it either, when there are so many good alternatives out there, without having to go resort to something like that that we know has long-term detrimental effects. So yeah, seek out someone who knows what they're doing. You know, talk to me, write me a message on Facebook. I don't mind. You know, I'm happy to answer questions.
Oh, to your page too. So,
and exercise. Don't forget exercise. Don't forget walking. Weights is really important. Weight-bearing exercise at this stage, so you don't lose calcium and you don't lose muscle density, is super important. You need to do something every day. Every day. So even if it's something small, start somewhere. Find a buddy. You know, buddy up with someone to start walking, or doing a bit of weight-bearing exercise is super important as well. And again, that moves the muscles. It builds your bones, builds your muscles, keeps the strength, and you'll feel good. You'll feel it releases feel-good endorphins. So super important for that anxiety, depression, neurotransmitter pathway. So need to do that. Get out there and make yourself feel good.
Oh, I'm just blown away by all the information that you've given us today, and I really, really appreciate it. And I've just got this vision in my mind now of all the health food stores getting stampeded. Women around the world doing star jumps.
Yay! That's what we want. That's what we want. Happy, healthy women out there. You know, so you can go and enjoy these years of your life. They're pretty cool years. You know, we're all, you know, in our 50s, most of us. You know, that's sort of that really critical age where if you don't get your shit together now, then you're going to, you know, you'll probably pay for it down the track. So do something about it now. Be proactive, and you can, you know, be really happy and healthy and be the best you can be, and do all the things you've maybe wanted to do that you've been putting off. So yeah, you know, grab that opportunity with two hands and go for it.
Well, you're certainly a great example of someone who walks their talk, because you just radiate good health. And
Thanks,
I
Liz.
put a lot of thought and effort into it, and I really appreciate you sharing all this wisdom. And I know that a lot of women out there, you know, what if you've just prevented one woman from finding out that go and take responsibility for our lives, guys. It's really important. And yeah, this is the time of your life. This is the time of your life where you start going, I want to do what I want to do now. I want to travel, I want to start a business, I want whatever it is for you. And you want to feel really good while you're doing it. So
Absolutely.
Take Mona's advice on board, and thank you again, Mona. It's just been wonderful having you here.
Thanks, Suze. Really appreciate it. I hope all you women can take some of that on board and go and live the life you've always dreamed of.
I'm sure they absolutely will. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.